We'll go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Webinars for Busy Lawyers. My name is Rachel Casper. I'm the Marketing Director here at Lawyers Concerned for Lawyers Massachusetts, which includes the Law Office Management Assistance Program. So these webinars cover the topics on marketing, technology, mindset, basically everything that spans the range of our services in those areas. They're designed to be very short, effective uses of your time. So 30 minutes and practical information you can use right away. We do record the program, so this recording will be posted in the next couple of days, available for you to watch on demand. You'll also receive a link to that recording automatically through email. And if you have any questions at any point throughout the presentation, you can send us those questions in the chat function. If you don't see that, just hover over the bottom of your Zoom screen and you'll see it there. You can send a message either directly just to me or Catherine, or generally to the group if you think it's something that you want the entire group to see. And you can see a drop-down menu gives you options of who will see the message that you send. So without any further delay, I'll introduce our speaker for today. Catherine Sanders Reach is the director for the Center for Practice Management at the North Carolina Bar Association. Formerly, she was director of law practice management and technology for the Chicago Bar Association and the director at the American Bar Association's Legal Technology Resource Center. She's a co-chair of ABA Tech Show 2020, and you can follow her on Twitter at twitter.com/Catherine Reach. And you can also find her on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/Catherine Reach. I'll now hand it over to Catherine so she can introduce herself any more thoroughly and get started with today's program. Thank you, Catherine.
Thanks, Rachel. Okie doke. So today, when Susan from Mass LoMap had originally asked me to participate in this, she said, "What topic do you want to talk about?" Well, that's a hard one. But the thing that comes up for me a whole lot in my work with attorneys is that they buy Office 365 as a way to upgrade an older version of Microsoft Office, and they don't realize how much functionality they just purchased for, a pretty low rate. So I thought I would go through some of the things that Office 365 brings to your firm in terms of functionality and applications and how they might be useful to you. So just to get started, looking at the different versions of Office 365, I have had attorneys go out, buy a laptop or a tablet at Best Buy and buy Office 365 with it, thinking that they were getting the business version when they were getting the home and student version. So what we're talking about today is absolutely not home or student. It is the business versions of Office 365. They now have rebranded all the enterprise level versions to Microsoft 365. We're talking about Office 365, and I put the pricing on the screen for you to get you a sense of kind of what we're talking about. Different ones come with different things. The application that I'm going to focus on today is the Office 365 Business Premium, and this is what basically gives you all the bells and whistles. It replaces your Exchange server. It gives you a SharePoint server. It was giving you Skype for Business, but they've kind of pulled back on that and integrated it with Teams. You get all of the Office suite, so Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, Access and Publisher if you're on a PC. Otherwise, all of it you can get on a Mac, and then you have per user 5 installations of each of the Office apps. So you can get it on your phone, on a tablet, on a laptop, on a desktop. And I never can figure out what you do with the 5th one. I think you give it to the dog or something, because I don't know anybody who has more than like 4 devices. But at any rate, you get a whole lot with this $12.50 per month. You also get support from Microsoft directly, which actually works. You can go in, put your issue, and have them call you back, and I've definitely taken advantage of that. So for $12.50 a month, you get 5 installations each of all the apps from the Office suite, and then the Exchange server hosted, SharePoint server hosted, OneDrive, which is basically the equivalent of Google Drive or Dropbox for Business or whatever, to store your documents in the cloud, synced with your local device. So that's all what you get kind of out of the box. But there are other things that you get that are really cool, and it seems like they're just kind of rolling these things out and they appear. So sometimes you miss it, but as I've been using this for about a year now, and it helps when your organization is kind of all in with Office 365. The more everybody is using all the tools, the more intelligence it seems to be able to gather, and you'll see what I am talking about. So one of the things I noticed in Outlook is that it's starting to add these kind of artificial intelligence-based suggestions. And so it's not something that you would normally typically look for, but for instance, I had just given a PowerPoint presentation, and when I finished, I looked up and this yellow bar appeared and it says, it looks like you presented this file, now share it with the attendees. What it's doing is, I presented this information and it recognized that I had this event on my calendar, so it suggests share with attendees. If I clicked on the button, it would actually open up Outlook. It would email the file to all the attendees, which I just think is really cool and amazing. I didn't actually do it, but I think that that kind of intelligence built into the whole suite is where the real power of 365 comes in. Another thing that's happening is when you get an email, if the email has information that says, you know, it looks like we want to schedule this meeting, let us know if you're available, it'll have a little button that pops up that says suggested meetings. And when you click on it, it basically says, okay, looks like someone's trying to schedule a meeting with you via email. Do you want to add it to your calendar? And so then I can go ahead and add it to my calendar, which again is very helpful, because when someone sends you an email, but not a calendar event, you have to take the steps to put it on your calendar. So for Office 365 through Outlook, to kind of use that intelligence to look at the email and then tell you what to do with it is, I think, very cool. Another thing that they've added into Outlook is templates. And in the past, I've been using a feature in Outlook called Quick Parts that lets you save hunks and snippets of text and be able to pop those into an email. And I still use that, but for specific full templates, I find it really useful. So I thought I would show this to you. And so I'm going to drag Outlook over here. So if I'm sending a new email, I can go over into view templates up on the right hand side. Where it appears on your ribbon will probably be different. I have a I have an add-on problem, which we'll discuss in a minute, but there's all sorts of cool add-ons that you can add to Outlook and Word and things to add functionality. So if I click on view templates, they give you a couple of standard ones, and then you can create one for yourself. So you just click on template and then you give it a title. And then write your email. You know, whatever, and then save it. And the next time you want to use it, you've got it in there, and then I click on it and it just plops it into my email all ready to go. So I think that is useful and easy to find there. The other thing that they've added as an add-on is forms. And so forms is actually, you get with Office 365, you get a survey tool. So very similar to something like JotForm or SurveyMonkey or Google Forms or something like that. Outlook has, or Office 365 has forms built in, but you can also integrate the form into Outlook as a quick poll. So if you needed to send a poll out to clients, people in the firm, whomever, then you can just add a little quick poll. So you click on quick poll, it pops it up. You can have multiple choice answers. You can have drop downs, things like that. You build it out. It doesn't give you a whole lot of functionality. And then once you add it to the email, then it adds a little link, and then people can click on it. So if the person is outside your firm and they don't have Office 365, they don't need it. They'll basically be led to this poll, and you can ask questions. So again, this is just something kind of interesting that you can use. I know that at my office, they'll send around an email. When is everybody interested in getting training on X, Y, or Z? And I started asking them, could you please send this as a poll or a survey? Because, I'm sure whoever's gathering that information is beleaguered by responses. So make it easy on everybody. Another thing that they built into Outlook, which is frankly starting to get to the level of creepy, is Insights. And so Insights actually expands over into Analytics, which I'll show you. But what Insights does is it basically goes through all of your email and tries to figure out what you have and haven't done. Now, a lot of the things I have actually done, so I'm not that slack, but it has uncovered for me meetings I need to prepare for, tasks I need to address, outstanding emails that I need to respond to, things like that. So, sometimes our inboxes can get a little overwhelming, and you may have different tasks lists and things like that. It's actually pulling from a whole lot of different resources so that I can get a sense of, what I miss, what do I need to do, especially if you, like me, put your emails in folders. I try to get them out of my inbox, but sometimes that means I didn't take care of something as effectively as I could. So Insights is another interesting little feature that comes with Outlook now. So some of the stuff that really shines in Office 365 once you get used to it is the communication and collaboration tools. And the reason I say get used to it is because, if you've used Dropbox or Google Drive before, it's a slightly different interface. So everything takes a little bit of training. So this is OneDrive, and OneDrive is, again, the online version of your local hard drive, except for the fact that it also, you see the shared libraries. We're going to talk about this, but remember where I said you get a server product called SharePoint. So anything that I share and create permissions in advance, it'll show me my shared library files as well as my personal files. And then, of course, from here, I can share a folder or a file with other people on a discrete or individual basis, or with a couple of people. So you have a whole lot of options in terms of how you share, how you set up the sharing and the permissions from the beginning, or kind of ad hoc. And I find this very easy to use. And then once I've gotten used to it, because it's actually built into the application. So if you're in a Word document, you can share it directly from Word. It's very easy to do. It's a very similar process to if you've ever used Google Drive and Google Docs, similar to that in terms of functionality. The interface is a little different. You can, like Google Drive and Google Docs, have multi-document or multi-author document collaboration. I'm going to go back and annotate these slides. I'm going to send a link to you, because I think one of the things with Google Drive that I found lawyers struggle with is there is no track changes. And similarly, when you have multiple people editing a document in Word online, there's no track changes. But if you turn the track changes on before you share the document, you can pull it back into Word, the software, and anything that was done in a collaboration online setting will then show up in your Word document. So if you like the ability to have that multi-author document collaboration, but you also want to be able to do track changes, you can have all of that. You just have to kind of do it in the right order. So the other thing about the multi-author document collaboration, you can have, see where this little start conversation, you can have in the moment chats. So if you see that there's someone else in the document, you can have a conversation with them, which is fantastic. So a question, and I'll address this now. Can I clarify whether one needs the desktop version of Outlook as opposed to the web interface? So I'm using, for the demonstration purposes, the desktop version of Outlook. Almost all of the add-ons that I've shown you are in the web version of Outlook as well. There are actually more add-ons for the web version of Outlook than there are for the desktop version of Outlook. I just tend to be old school and work in the desktop version of Outlook, but they do appear in the web version as well. So back to this, and this again, I started in Word in the desktop software. I shared it online. People can edit online through the browser, and then I can pull it back in and make any final changes that I want to and see the track changes, all that good stuff. So that's something that you get built in. I mentioned SharePoint. SharePoint's a server product that was designed for large firms. And so the difference between OneDrive and SharePoint is when you set Office 365 up, OneDrive is pretty much a one-to-one ratio. So that I have my local files, or what would be normally in my C drive, they're now in a OneDrive sync, and they go online and can see them. SharePoint is really designed around more of a server environment so that you can you create libraries or portals or shared environments where you have multiple people preset to have access to it. So if you're in a small firm, everybody in the firm. If you're in a larger firm, you can portion it off, and then you can upload documents, share them, check them in, check them out. It's got some document management capabilities in it. Nothing as robust as like a World Docs or a NetDocuments, but starting to get close. You can build in workflows, approval cycles, all sorts of stuff. The thing with SharePoint is it is extremely extensible and fairly complex to get it set up right. I'm going to show you Teams. Teams helps you kind of create an out-of-the-box SharePoint instance without having to worry about setting all this stuff up. But if you want to explore SharePoint, I would suggest that you find a consultant who knows what they're doing and work with them to figure out how you want to use it effectively, because it is a very powerful tool, but it isn't particularly easy. And as far as, do I know whether Microsoft is ever going to add track changes to the Word Online? I wish I could tell you. I think the answer is no, but I will send y'all the link to explain the workflow where you can get the best of both. Microsoft Teams is one of my favorite things in Office 365, and the reason is because it integrates chat features like what a lot of people are using Slack for, and it also integrates a SharePoint library. And so you just create a team, a functional team, add the people that you want to in it. It basically provisions a SharePoint instance for you, which shows up in your OneDrive. It shows up in other places, because that's one of the nice things about Office 365 is you can see your information in a lot of different places, depending on what your workflow is personally. But when you create that team, then I'm actually going to show you what it looks like. So moving this over here. So I have my CPM admin and my general. I added me and my boss, but you could add anybody else you want to. So it has this thread of discussion just specific to this particular workspace. And then this is basically SharePoint. See how it says open in SharePoint, but you don't have to. So anytime I upload a file into this team, it automatically shares it with anyone in that team without you having to do anything more. Then you can basically, it has wikis, and so you can create kind of whiteboards or white spaces. You don't have to create formal documents and upload them. Some things don't need a a document. Some things are just kind of notes. And so I can comment on this, and this is all shared with everybody who's in this particular workspace in Teams. Then I've incorporated Planner, which I'll show you in a second, but Planner, if you've ever seen a Kanban board or used Trello before, this is very similar to that kind of experience. You can add tasks, and then set the due date, and then assign it to, I'm the only person in this right now. And then once you click on it and add it, then if I click on it, I can get more. I can change which bucket I put into, what priority it is, start dates, due dates, descriptions, add checklists, attachments, comments. So it's a full functioning project management tool within within your team based on a product called Planner that they have. And then this, I actually, and I'll send you all the instructions on how to do this. I created a calendar. This is all the information, this is a shared calendar for my team that I just put into here so that people can see upcoming activities that they're involved in for this team. So it's not my personal calendar, it's a team calendar. And this is, again, taking SharePoint and using it to your advantage. I even was given the opportunity to create this cute little graphic on top. I'm going fast because we only have 30 minutes. I mentioned forms that are integrated as polls into Outlook. Forms is a tool that you can get. It's a full-blown survey tool. There is a Forms Pro. So there's a couple of products built into Office 365 where you get the basic version for free with Office 365, but the Pro version, or the next upgrade, is an additional charge. I have not yet found any particular reason why I would want to do that. I like Forms fine. It's pretty much equivalent to Google Forms in terms of functionality. So if you have a need for anything very sophisticated, probably not the right tool for you. However, if you just need to be able to gather some information and then take it from a spreadsheet where it's collected and put it into a Word document through the merge function, you can do things like that. So you don't have to use a separate forms tool, you've got it built in. Some add-ons that I like, there's a ton of add-ons. If you go to the Microsoft App Source, then you can do a search, you can see what add-ons you want, and then it's probably best to add them this way. And then for the person who asks, is this in Outlook Online or Outlook in the application, should show up in both. But the ones that I really like are things like FineTime, and in your event page, there's a link to an article where I explain FineTime a little bit more effectively. But basically, if you've ever used something like a doodle poll to see how many people are available for a meeting, what FineTime does is it's integrated into Outlook, and you can set up a meeting, first being able to see all the things you can see with the Outlook calendar in terms of your team's availability, all the people internal to the firm through Exchange, and then you can invite people outside of the firm. And so first you determine, are all the people in the firm available, and then you send out the request and everybody can check a box and you get it back, and then it puts on your calendar. So it's very much like Doodle, except without ads and built in, and has the intelligence based on your Exchange environment. So that's an add-on for Outlook that I use all the time. The customer manager is a little, it's not really a true CRM. It's more about looking at a person and kind of going, okay, what emails have I had with this person? If you click on any one of these things, it'll drop it down. These are notes in their contacts area. Emails, if there were any documents I'd shared with that person, the documents would show up. And then I can easily email the person or call them, assuming that their phone numbers in the contact, set up a meeting with them, and so on and so forth. So this is kind of new. I have yet to find its full useful capabilities, but it is a nice way to get that. It used to actually be built into contacts, and now you can get it through this customer manager, and it's just basically all the communication, all the events, all the things with this particular person. So productivity tools, there's To Do. Microsoft bought Wunderlist, which I loved, and so I got off of it because I was afraid they were going to do something terrible with it. They didn't do anything terrible with it. They just didn't bring the functionality over into Microsoft's product, which is called To Do, until fairly recently. And so what I think is cool about To Do, and I'll actually open that up and bring it over for you to see, is anything that's on my calendar. Remember, I just added that projects to my team. There it is. If we're in Planner and someone assigns me something, it shows up in here. Any emails that I flagged, it shows up in here. Do I wish it would all show up in one place? Yes, I do. If I used Outlook Task, which I don't, those show up in here. Then if you look at my day, it's not showing up. It usually puts a panel, and based on kind of all these other things, what are due today, which is useful. You can also create a shared list and add people. And copy the link, email it to people, and add them either internally or externally to a kind of task list environment if you didn't want to go full bore with the project management tools. Bookings is really useful, and I'll pull this up for you just to show you. So basically what I do is I go through and I say, okay, hook up to these calendars of mine, add other people, come up with my scheduling policies. I take 1 hour increments or 30-minute increments, and you can do it for different types of meetings, initial client consult, client follow-up, all sorts of different reasons you want to have kind of set meetings. Minimum lead time, I would do that 24 hours like I have here. Maximum, they can only schedule 365 days out. And then once you set this all up, you have this, you can send people the link. If they choose a consultation for an hour, they can choose to have a meeting with me, pick a time, and you can actually add as many fields here to gather information as you want, and click book, and it'll be sent to my calendar. Then they'll get a response back to add it to their calendar, and then they can actually reschedule and all that. You can actually collect fees through this as well. It'll integrate with a payment portal. So this is something that a lot of attorneys are using. It's just, I have a whole, and I'll put the link to it, I have a whole program on defensive calendaring, because the reality is if you're going to share a calendar at that level, you have to make sure that your calendar is kind of protected, which we will kind of talk about in a second. Flow, if you've ever used Zapier to connect two different applications so that when you do something in one place, it happens in another. Flow does the same thing, not just within the Microsoft Office ecosystem, but with other applications as well. So if you want to have, if you get a Slack message with an attachment, then you can set up a flow that says, take the attachment and put it in my OneDrive. And the possibilities are pretty endless. And this, again, this is one of those products where the basic version you get for free with Office 365. If you want to ramp it up, add more integrations and things like that, it's an upcharge. And then My Analytics is kind of an extension of that insights that I showed you in Outlook, and basically it kind of looks at your activity based on your calendar, emails, activity in your network, your teams. That's why I said you have to kind of be all in. If you're all in, this kind of stuff works well. If not, it kind of misses the mark. But basically this one is kind of going, you need to schedule time to focus. Are you checking your email during what you consider your quiet hours? am I reaching out to my collaborators and the people in my network effectively? So it's an interesting tool to really kind of get a sense of what am I doing and how well am I doing. Second to last thing I'm going to show you is Sway. Sway is interesting because it can take either a PowerPoint or a Word document and turn it into an interactive tool that you can put online. So it's kind of a storyboard, and sometimes, well, with your clients, they're likely more visually oriented unless your clients are lawyers. Most everybody else is more visually oriented to lawyers. So if you've got a message that you need to send to someone, if you want them to read through a document, you can actually make it interactive and interesting and embed graphical elements and kind of have it flow through to get them to read it versus sending them a document. This is quasi-marketing, quasi-educating your client about different issues, but it's a pretty cool tool. And then we kind of looked at Planner when I had it integrated into Teams. This is the standalone product, so if you thought Teams is a bit much, but I like that Planner idea. You just create a plan, you add task, you create cards within it. Well, the task is a card. You take a card and you can move it to different sections. Typical Kanban starts with to do, doing, done. So as you get the card checked off, or you move it to the next column, and then you can add as many buckets as you want. The schedule feature will actually show it to you on a calendar, and there's also a metrics to see if everybody's done what they're supposed to and who's slacking off and not getting their projects done. So I won't show you mine. All the Office suite has apps for your phone and tablet. I really like the Outlook app. It keeps it separate from my other email apps on my phone, and B, it has the calendar and everything built in, so you can send a request for a meeting or accept a request for a meeting from your phone really easily. And then you get this mileage tracker for your phone that's part of the Office 365 package. And so if you need to track your mileage, you can turn it on your phone, turn on GPS, and then you can swipe. I can't remember if it's left for personal travel, right for business travel, and then it basically gives you a report summary in a spreadsheet that you can import into QuickBooks or wherever you may use your need to track your miles for expense reimbursement or whatever. One last thing, Office 365 Secure Store. So you can go to the Secure Score and see if you've enabled all the security functions like two-factor authentication, and it tells you what you need to do to improve your score. The total score is based on a total number of points possible for doing all of the things to secure your environment effectively. So this is more for an admin, but it's an interesting opportunity to improve the security and the end user security of the tool. So that is it. I went 4 minutes over. Sorry. And then if anybody has any questions, Rachel, if we have time, I can take them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Catherine. Fantastic explanations, great features. I do see one more question at this point, and everyone else, we'd encourage you to submit your questions in the next minute or two here if possible. So this question is, do you think Microsoft will ever add any kind of track changes view functionality to Word Online? It's a huge barrier for some people in this person's organization, trying to get them to switch from Google Docs to Word Online for collaboration, since Google Docs does show tracked changes if you're in suggestion mode.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I know that Microsoft tends to try to keep up with Google. So the one thing that's, I have a workaround suggestion. I will send you the link to show you how to do it. Basically, you need to turn track changes on when you upload the document into Word Online, and then when you get it back, you can see the track changes. So someone says, how do you add forums to your Outlook message ribbon? Just go to click on add-ons and then see if you can find it. I frankly sometimes don't remember how I get those things in there, but you can also go into your options and look for it there. I'll try to find the answer to your question and post it with the materials. Define business class email as in not free. Gmail, Yahoo, AOL, business class email typically has an integrated calendar with it and is either run on a more secure server environment. Say, for instance, free Gmail, everybody is aware that you get stuff for free because they make access to your email potentially available to bots. And then if you integrate any third-party tools, they also may have access to it. So business class is just more secure, more functions, and more focused on an end user environment within an organization or a firm. Mass mobile app for Office Outlook 365 email. I just use Outlook, the app, on my phone. I have an Android phone, so if you have iPhone, your mileage may vary a little bit. And then the other, I mean, I actually open documents in Word in the app on my phone, and I can make edits, which is convenient when you're in motion and just need to make a minor adjustment to it.
Okay, and Catherine, did you see this question? And maybe you didn't, I didn't catch your answer, but any suggestions for taking small notes to yourself? This person has used the Outlook Notes function, but most mobile email apps don't use the notes function.
You can use To Do to take notes, or you can use OneNote to take notes. I mean, again, with the all-in thing, OneNote would be probably the best place because it allows you to take random notes, checklists, forward emails into it. So OneNote is a really powerful product. So I switch back and forth between the To-Do app if it's an actual activity that I need to use or put a note about, or OneNote, which is now actually focused on an app and not a desktop piece of software. They're not offering the desktop software anymore. It's really app focused, so web and mobile.
Got it. All right, well, that looks like all our questions. So unless anyone has any that are popping through in the next couple seconds, we will let you go. Catherine, again, thank you so much. That was a fantastic presentation.
Well, good. And I'll go back and add, I'm going to take a note right now about where I found the form for the ribbon. And I'll annotate the slides and I'll send them to Rachel, and she can make them available to you.
Yep, so we'll make them available at the same time we make the recording available, and they'll be all on the same page that we will send you links to automatically. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, have a great day, everyone. Thanks.